has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michele Olender, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 257, writing a book in 30 days using the Veg Your Best coaching method. Because you know why? How you go vegan is how you do everything. Hey, my Veg Your Bestie. You know, you've probably heard me say this here on the pod. Maybe not 100 times, but a bunch. You've heard me say how you go vegan. Well, it's how you do everything. And it's why even though I think every single person who's ever advised me has advised me against being a vegan coach, it is why I am a vegan coach. I had a few other thoughts about how to use coaching, but I really do believe that the strategies and the discomfort tolerance and the personal agency and decision-making muscles you have to grow, the person you have to become to create a plant-based or a vegan practice, well, that's the reason why this is the most exciting process for people, especially in midlife or later life. People like myself who never, ever believed that they would move in a vegan direction. So anyway, this month, I kind of suddenly, almost overnight, decided to do a little experiment with myself and prove it to myself that the process I teach to help people start or restart or re-energize their lives without consuming animal products is useful in every other stalled or stuck or meh area of their lives. And in my case, writing a book. I've been thinking about writing a book for years, okay, maybe decades. And this summer, I'm finally putting together a draft in public, messy, unedited, and, you know, hopefully a challenge some others of you will want to do along with me a little bit. Okay, not because I'm grandiose enough to think my words on paper are going to inspire anyone. Maybe they will encourage. But the fact that I'm willing to show you all my dirty drafts, my messy processes, my typos and errors and cliche-filled sentences that go nowhere while I'm trying to put it together, placeholders, just blanks where I need to or want to do more research or rethink how I'm putting it, all those awkward, ugly, potentially object of your ridicule, trite uses of language. I'm putting that out there to show you that I get it. It's uncomfortable. Someone is going to make fun of it, me, the subject matter, the idea, but I'm doing it. So in today's episode, I'm going to share a little bit more about what I'm doing, why now, and how applying my coaching framework, the coaching framework I've developed over the years for people wanting to move in a vegan direction. And I'm using it to challenge me in my current life. And in just a few days, it is already giving me a lot more insight about the vegan journey that my clients sometimes get stalled on. Right now, as I record this, right this exact second, I'm on day 5 of a 30-day challenge to write a full book draft. Now, full disclosure, I haven't decided whether weekends count as part of the 30 days or not. And part of me thinks yes, part of the challenge is to figure out how to make a little progress, move the project forward, every day, even if it's not a quote unquote work day. And part of me also thinks it's a work issue and belongs within the boundaries of my work week. So part of me thinks that if I take 2 days off, it will be harder or less likely for me to recommit on Monday. Yet, part of me thinks that would be a decision based on fear. And I don't know if I want to be making my decisions based on fear. I want to make my decisions based on trust in myself. So, what is a Gemini to do in a case like this? Good points on both sides of the coin. So, maybe just decide, right? Because one of the great successes I've found in coaching has been that I mostly stop using things like right answers and best case scenarios and research and best practices. I mostly stop using those good things against myself. You know, I'm not a brain surgeon. My dilemmas are seldom a matter of life and death, except maybe for the animals I refuse to consume these days. So years of coaching has actually given me a lot more awareness of when I am overcomplicating an issue. And my guess is that even surgeons and first responders and, nuclear scientists, they also have to practice being deliberate on which issues they're going to consider mission critical. And in those cases, they have to be deliberate, practicing their skills and routines and systems so much that as much as possible, in life and death decisions, they are supported by a safety net of education and science and experience and collaboration with other experts. Because so much of what bogs us down is actually not critical. And if it is critical, that goes in a different category. So the area where I have been stuck for a while has been my website and some of the things in my business, not the coaching per se. Coaching clients is marvelous and rewarding and a very simple process in many ways. But the business of living inside my business has sometimes been, I feel like there has to be a correct process and it has to be done in the right order. So right now, as I'm recording this, it is, as I said, above day 5 of a 30-day challenge. And if I'm doing this as planned, when you hear this episode, if you hear it on the day it drops anyway, I'll be about halfway through this 30-day challenge and one hopes, about halfway through the draft. So putting this out there, recording this today on day 5, knowing you'll hear it after day 15, it's one of the things I love most about having created my podcast. It's that element of time travel. I record it and I make it public in the future. And then it lives in the past, present, and future as people find the episode or download it or listen to it or share it with someone else or it goes into their previous listen to file. So I can't help wondering how I'm going to receive this episode myself when it's aired. And if you're curious about this and you would want to cheer me on at all for the second half of the 30-day challenge, I would love it. You could go on Substack and follow me. You can do it for free. Follow me. The name of the section on Substack is How You Go Vegan. How You Go Vegan. And if you want live updates, behind the scene notes, and the actual rough draft that I'm writing, I'm sharing that on Substack. And I think I'll probably do some updates on Instagram, but you'll see there are links to all those things in the show notes for today's podcast. Now, the working title of the book is How You Go Vegan is How You Do Everything. Writing a book in 30 days with the V.E.G.A.N Your Best method. And it's going to be, currently the iteration that it's in at the moment is kind of part coaching journal, messy memoir, vegan mindset mirror. It's definitely not done, but it's happening. It's happening. And that's a huge shift for me, not just to write, because I do write, but for me to go from planning, thinking, wondering, researching, to simply writing and making it public. So why now? Why this summer? Why this week? that I just started. Well, I launched my new website, vegan@anyage.com, which I've invited you all to come take a look at and help me find any dead links or any parts that don't make sense. And I was reviewing the homepage and looking to see if those links and buttons on the pages were working correctly. And I had this idea. I could just see, in my mind's eye, I could see on the homepage where a button, a link, could go on that page that said, download chapter 1 free. Download chapter 1 free. That visual, that possibility, it made it suddenly feel kind of real. Not perfect, not even polished, just kind of doable. So, book writing's been on my to-do list for years. Everyone knows that who listens to this podcast. I've bought the courses. I've downloaded the templates. I've mapped out outlines in Evernote, and still no book. And by the way, if anyone has advice about being an Evernote premium customer, I'm locked out of my account and there's no one to contact, and I'm a little frantic about that. So if you have any solutions, please reach out. Any Evernote contact people solutions. Anyway, back to the button that I could almost see on the home page that said, in my mind's eye, download chapter 1 here. Well, that seemed so real, so achievable, so simple. And it was a reminder that what I always say, my number one job is as a vegan out in the world, is just to live in a way that people think, oh, I mean, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could eat vegan sometimes the way she does. Because until you can somehow visualize at least a part of it, well, it's impossible until you can just sort of imagine that it could be possible in a certain situation. And it's why I use the acronym V.E.G.A.N, V-E.G.A.N, as the coaching framework in my coaching. And the first letter V stands for vision. And that's what gave me the idea, maybe I could use my coaching framework publicly, in my case, not to start or restart my vegan practice, but to re-energize it and bring my advocacy and coaching and connection with people moving in a plant-based direction, connect in a different way, in a new way, in a little bit more of a vulnerable way. So I decided to use the same tools that I teach my clients, my coaching clients, the same mindset I've been developing through going vegan and podcasting weekly since 2020, and the same stoic philosophy I talk about so often. You heard it here on the pod before. Marcus Aurelius said, what stands in the way becomes the way. And for me, the fear of writing the wrong thing, of doing it badly, or even worse, maybe doing it in a pointless or mediocre way, or starting and not finishing again, that fear has been standing in the way. And, you know, sometimes I get distracted and think, oh, it's my skills that are not there, or my idea isn't good enough yet, or I don't know exactly what would help other people. I would use those thoughts and they would stand in the way. But actually, really, it was just me being scared of being judged. Because otherwise, what would stop me? I would say, oh, it didn't help anybody. Okay. But the idea of being judged about it, I guess that really was there. So the decision to set up a Substack and go all vulnerable on you, I Googled the process. I invited a couple of people to follow me on Substack, and it took all of about 2 hours, and here we are. And that's because it's clear to me that what keeps you stuck on your vegan journey is probably very similar to what keeps you stuck in any part of your life, thinking things like it's not the right time. I could never give up this one thing, so why even start? No one else is doing this around me. I'm all or nothing. I'll probably not follow through. I'm afraid I'll fail. My partner, family, kids, roommates, etc., they'll hate this. Does that sound familiar about anything you're stuck on? because that's exactly what I was thinking about writing this book, getting this draft done. It was going to take time away from people that I didn't have time to take away from, that I might not be able to follow through, that all the people I knew had written books, published books, had already done it years before. And what am I thinking about doing that now at 66? That's exactly what I was thinking about writing the book. So even though I spend a good chunk of my life assuring people that you don't have to be vegan everywhere all the time with everyone starting today, I also needed that reminder that I didn't need to write the perfect book today. I just needed to write. I just needed to write something, to show up, to make a move, to start. So far, the book is about, a little bit about why this project took decades. What happened when on day 2, we had I think it was the 6th ER visit in the family in about 4 weeks. The way Stoicism, Kabbalah, and grandkids keep showing up in my drafts. And why I think wedding cake, omelets with your aunt, and Parisian croissant are not where you start when you're learning to go plant-based. Also, the things you can't do in terms of writing, the things you don't know, don't have to go into the first draft. So I'm using the V.E.G.A.N acronym that I created. V is for vision. E is for, usually I say E is for easy, but sometimes I forget that and I say, E might be for explore or edit. At G is for grace, A is for ask, and N is for nourish. And if you've ever tried to do something big and new, you already know. You know you are so consumed with how you're going to do it. How. But you actually don't need to know how. You just need to believe it's somehow partially possible, and then you need to start and show up so that the how can find you. Because the how for everyone is different, whether it's riding a bicycle, whether it's building a house, whether it's moving house, which our friend of the pod, Charlie Weinshank, my sound guy, he's moving house this summer, and everybody send him some positive energy. It's a lot of work. We're all coming at these things in different ways, and what we need, the how we need, is different. So the how shows up when we do. So my Vedge Your Bestie, your challenge this week, what's the thing you have not been doing because it doesn't feel like the right time, the perfect moment, you don't have the final plan. You don't know if you've got that full commitment yet. What if there's a tiny version of that thing that you could start today? And if you're curious about my 30-day experiment, or you want to do your own, oh my God, that would be so great. You want to do your own? You can follow the book in progress on Substack, How You Go Vegan. And I would love to hear what you're working on, even if you're just quietly cheering me on. In the back of your mind, just think like, a good 30-day project for me would be, you don't have to do it, but just let that percolate. Now, the podcast will continue every week, of course, but updates on the writing journey will mostly be there and on Instagram. I'm not going to talk about it all the time here on the podcast because it's slightly different. But let's make a little progress on something. It's the oldest idea in the world, knowing that perfection is the enemy of the good. Because the practice is everything. The practice is really all we have. Because say, if I finish the draft and I turn the draft into a book and it's downloadable on vegan@anyage.com, say that's all done in a couple months. That's great, right? That would be great. I would be very pleased and very proud and very, very excited for myself for about a week probably max, because maybe even less, because there will be changes I noticed that I should have made, and there will be ideas that were poorly handled within it, and I'll probably get a few comments or criticisms, but even best case scenario, it's universally loved and shared and actually helps people. The real achievement will not be the book I write. It really won't be. It will be the person I become. I'm vegan right now. That's not really a huge achievement that I'm proud of all the time, because now there's other things to do. But I did become a person who faced some criticism and made a plan and worked that plan and asked for support and gained insight along the way to help support others. So I do ask for your support and encouragement. And if you feel like getting over on Substack, you can just subscribe or cheer me on for free as I write my best. And let me know how to cheer you on as you veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.